A pleasant day, everyone. I am Maria Teresa BRIONES, and I will be discussing to you about leadership in multicultural education setting. In today's increasingly diverse world, effective leadership in multicultural education setting is essential for fostering an inclusive and equitable learning environment. Multicultural education aims to promote understanding, respect, and appreciation for diverse cultures and backgrounds. Leadership in this context involves creating an environment that celebrates diversity, addresses systematic biases, and empowers students and educators to thrive regardless of their cultural backgrounds. Now, let's have the key components of leadership in multicultural education setting. Now, let's have the first component, which is cultural competence and awareness. Leadership in multicultural education setting requires a deep understanding of various cultures, traditions, beliefs, and practices. Culturally competent leaders are able to bridge cultural gaps, foster cross-cultural communication, and develop strategies that promote inclusivity. Cross-cultural communication. This refers to the communication between people who have differences in any of the following. It can be differences in style of working, age, nationality, ethnicity, race, gender, sexual orientation, and the like. Cross-cultural communication can also refer to the attempts that are made to exchange, negotiate, and mediate cultural differences by means of language, gestures, and body languages. It is how people belonging to different cultures communicate with each other. While inclusive education means that all children in same classrooms, in same schools, it means real learning opportunities for groups who have traditionally been excluded, not only children with disabilities, but speakers of minority languages too. Let's have a concrete example of cultural competence and awareness. A school principal organizes cultural awareness workshops for teachers to enhance their understanding of diverse student populations. This initiative helps educators modify their teaching methods to accommodate various cultural backgrounds. So in this, the school principal really is initiating competence and awareness towards the teacher. So as a school principal, you will be the one to initiate and make plans on how the teachers have the idea, the knowledge about the culture or the different cultures that are in the school. Now let's have the second component, which is the inclusive curriculum and instruction. Leadership involves ensuring that the curriculum and teaching methodologies are inclusive and representative of diverse cultures. This approach provides all students with an opportunity to see themselves reflected in the educational content. The DepEd, or the Department of Education, is mandated to protect and promote the right of every Filipino citizens to quality education that will enable each learner to realize their full potential and meaningfully take part in nation building. This principle of inclusion promotes institutional sensitivity and responsiveness to the nature, situation, and realities of our country's learners and directs the department or the DepEd to proactively address these through the curriculum and other interventions. This institutionalized by K to 12 through inclusive education, which is we are familiar with. This inclusive Ed- Education is a policy perspective realized through the development and implementation of learner-centered and context-responsive programs, which is the inclusive education of the Department of Education. Now let's have a concrete example of an inclusive curriculum and instruction. A school district supervisor advocates for the integration of diverse perspectives and authors in the English literature curriculum. This initiative broadens students' understanding of literary contributions from various cultural backgrounds. So this is an example of an inclusive curriculum and instruction. Now let's have the third component, which is equity and equal opportunities. Leadership in multicultural education emphasizes providing equal opportunities and resources to all students regardless of their cultural or socio-economic backgrounds. This includes addressing disparities in educational outcomes and creating a level playing field for all the learners. Now let's have an example of equity and equal opportunities. A college dean implements a scholarship program targeting underrepresented minority students and providing them with financial assistance and mentorship opportunities to help them succeed academically. The fourth component is inclusive decision making and collaboration. Effective leadership involves involving stakeholders from diverse backgrounds in decision-making processes to ensure that all perspectives are considered. Collaboration fosters a sense of belongingness and inclusivity. A concrete example of inclusive decision making and collaboration is a school principal establishes a diverse student and parent advisory committee where representatives from various cultural groups collaborate with school leadership to address the unique needs and concerns of their communities. The fifth component is cultural sensitivity and respect. Leadership in multicultural education necessitates a culture of respect and sensitivity towards diverse perspectives and backgrounds. Leaders need to model and enforce respectful behavior among students and staff. Here is an example of cultural sensitivity and respect. A college president addresses a racially insensitive incident on campus by organizing a town hall meeting where students, faculty, and staff can openly discuss the issue and develop strategies to promote tolerance and understanding. And the last component is professional development and training. Leaders must invest in ongoing professional development and training for educators and staff to enhance their cultural competence and equip them with the tools needed to create an inclusive educational environment. Example of professional development training. A school's division superintendent partners with a local diversity organization to conduct regular diversity and inclusion workshops for educators, promoting awareness and understanding of cultural differences. Now let's move on to multicultural education, goals and dimensions. Multicultural education is an idea, an educational reform movement, and a process. This is based on Banks in 1997. As an idea, multicultural education seeks to create equal education opportunities for all students, including those from different racial, ethnic, and social class groups. Multicultural education tries to create equal educational opportunities for all students by changing the total school environment so that it will reflect the diverse cultures and groups within a society and within the nation's classrooms. Multicultural education is a process because its goals are ideals that teachers and administrators should constantly strive to achieve. So, what are the dimensions of multicultural education? The five dimensions of multicultural education are content integration, the knowledge construction process, prejudice reduction, an equity pedagogy, and an empowering school culture and social structure. When we say content integration, this deals with the extent to which teachers use examples and content from a variety of cultures and groups to illustrate key concepts, generalizations, and issues within their subject areas or disciplines. So in DepEd, we always have this integration to different subjects so that you will have a 7 points in your classroom observation. And I think that is an example of content integration. On the other hand, the knowledge construction process describes how teachers help students to understand, investigate, and determine how the biases, frames of reference, and perspectives within a discipline influence the ways in which knowledge is constructed within it. Students also learn how to build knowledge by themselves in this dimension. Another dimension is prejudice reduction. Prejudice reduction describes lessons and activities used by teachers to help students to develop positive attitudes toward different racial, ethnic, and cultural groups. Research indicates that children come to school with many negative attitudes toward and misconceptions about their different racial and ethnic groups. It also indicates that lessons, units, and teaching materials that include content about different racial and ethnic groups can help students to develop more positive intergroup attitudes if certain conditions exist in the teaching situation. These conditions include positive images of the ethnic groups in the materials and the use of multi-ethnic materials in a consistent and consequential way. Another dimension is an equity pedagogy. An equity pedagogy exists when teachers modify their teaching in ways that will facilitate the academic achievement of students from diverse racial, cultural, and social class groups. Research indicates that the academic achievement of learners is increased when cooperative teaching activities and strategies rather than competitive ones are used in instruction. Cooperative learning activities also help all students, including middle class students, to develop more positive racial attitudes. However, to attain this positive outcome, cooperative learning activities must have several important characteristics. The students from different racial and ethnic groups must feel that they have equal status in intergroup interactions, and teachers and administrators must value support and cross-racial interactions, and students from different racial groups must work together in teams to pursue common goals. An empowering school culture and social structure is created when the culture and organization of the school are transformed in ways that enable students or the learners from diverse racial, ethnic, and gender groups to experience equality and equal status. The implementation of this dimension requires that the total environment of the school be reformed, including the attitudes, beliefs, and action of teachers and administrators, the curriculum and course of study, assessment and testing procedures, and the styles and strategies used by teachers. So, to implement multicultural education effectively, teachers and administrators must attend to each of the five dimensions of multicultural education. They should use content from diverse groups when teaching concepts and skills, help students to understand how knowledge in various disciplines is constructed, help students to develop positive intergroup attitudes and behaviors, and modify their teaching strategies so that students from different racial, cultural, and social class groups will experience equal educational opportunities. The total environment and culture of the school must also be transformed so that students from diverse ethnic and cultural groups will experience equal status in the culture and life of the school. So, in conclusion, leadership in multicultural education setting is a complex and multifaceted endeavor that requires a deep commitment to diversity, equity, and inclusivity. Effective leaders recognize the value of a diverse student body and faculty and work diligently to create an educational environment that celebrates differences, fosters respect, and empowers all individuals to succeed. That would be all. Thank you so much for listening, and God bless.